Метеорит, короче, упал. Ебать, аж глаза слепило. Хуй знает, че за хуй. Я в шоке, блядь. Да взрыв был, слышали, да? Походу война ядерная началась. Ёп. Я все снимаю. Ёп. Сука, страшно. Блин, что делать, сука? Вы это видите?
We start with some breaking news this hour.
Welcome. These stories and the pictures coming out of central and western Russia right now are simply incredible.
A sky full of fire and brimstone. About 10,000 tons.
Causing a meteor shower. Eyewitnesses reported several blasts rocking the region, and there's long trails of smoke in the air.
A blast 20 times the strength of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima took place in the sky above the cities and towns of the Urals. The blast wave smashed windows and destroyed roofs and walls of buildings. It was followed by a downpour of stone fragments from the meteorite onto the people below. Several people were wounded, but no one was killed as a result of this cosmic attack.
We're not done yet. Not yet. We'll check this area first. Then we'll drop in here. I don't think we'll have time to go all the way to Travniki.
Scientists have come to the area where the meteorite fell in order to map its trajectory. To do this, they have to interview hundreds of eyewitnesses who can provide valuable information.
Over there.
Over there? And how high was it?
Yeah, high. High above the woods, there was a flash.
But it was more to the south, I think. More southwards.
Where the sun is now, that's about where the flash was. And the cloud was hanging, yeah, right above the houses. I filmed it after some time had passed, 15 minutes or so, I think. I filmed it from my backyard, and it just stayed there. It didn't go anywhere. It just expanded a bit, and that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem, you're welcome. I guess I'm popular now.
This is good information. It means the fragmentation of the meteorite went further.
On that sunny morning, nursery school teacher Ainura Garipova was playing with children in the classroom, unaware that she was about to save 14 young lives.
I saw it in the sky, and all of the kids, of course, ran to the windows to see it. Then it became very hot, and the noise was deafening. I saw these lights and for some reason thought that the windows would be blown out. Maybe there were terrorists, how could I know? So I rushed them to safety from here into the kitchen over there.
But one child hesitated and stayed near the window. Any longer and she would have been wounded by glass fragments.
I grabbed her, and the moment I turned around, we were hit by this wave. I crouched down with her, and we were hit by shards of glass. Some of it hit me in the forehead. Then everyone ran over there, and there was another explosion. I tried to calm the children down. I covered myself with a towel so that they couldn't see the blood.
When the parents of the children learned about the scale of the disaster, they were grateful for Ainura's fast reactions.
Well, kids, good luck to you all, and I wish you...
In the Chelyabinsk region, 1,600 people were wounded as a result of the impact. Many were injured when they came to the windows to see the flash in the sky. The blast wave that came a few minutes after the explosion broke thousands of windows, showering people with glass. All the windows were broken in this Chelyabinsk hospital too. But even though the temperature was -20, it was still not closed. On the contrary, every doctor was mobilized.
The children that were admitted to the hospital had cuts in the face, head and hands. It's probably because they were up against the windows the moment the glass broke. 11 children were hospitalized. Most of them had head injuries.
Factory worker Andrei Ushakov was admitted to the same hospital after the blast. On the morning of February the 15th, he nearly ended up buried under a pile of rubble.
The injury isn't serious. Only the kneecap is broken. We were just loading up some carriages when we saw the flash. We didn't understand what it was at first, so we didn't even pay attention. And then we were hit by the blast wave. We didn't even have time to understand what was happening.
Luck is a popular word in Chelyabinsk nowadays. Scientists are well aware of how much damage the meteorite could have caused.
What I think is that Chelyabinsk was shaken, but unhurt. There are several sites in this area where nuclear weapons are manufactured. A direct hit on one of those sites, situated within 100 kilometers of Chelyabinsk, would have resulted in much more serious consequences.
At the time the meteorite fell, a passenger airplane was approaching Chelyabinsk. The crew and the passengers on board saw a bright flash. Both the aircraft and the meteorite were caught on camera on the ground. At first, there were rumors that a UFO had shot down the meteorite to save the people of Earth. Another theory is that it was a rocket fired by the military. Later, scientists studied the video thoroughly and came to the conclusion that it features the same airplane that almost collided with the meteorite. Now officially known as Chelyabinsk, the meteorite entered the Earth's atmosphere on February the 15th at 9:20 a.m. local time. It exploded over a heavily populated area. The body was 17 meters in diameter and it weighed 18,000 tons. NASA estimates that the total yield of the explosion was 500 kilotons of TNT. The Ural incident was even registered as far away as Alaska and the Antarctic. The meteorite that exploded in the Earth's atmosphere flew from southeast to northwest at a speed of 20 kilometers per second. Its vapor trail could be seen in several regions of Russia, and for the first time in history, the meteorite's impact was filmed on video from all sides.
The dogs. All the dogs are running away. Good Lord, it must be nuclear war.
In the village of Rosa near Chelyabinsk, Rustam Gafarov left his home and saw the unusual celestial event above. He immediately began recording what he was seeing on his smartphone. His footage would soon be seen around the world, but it was risky filming. The explosion left him with concussion.
Aunt Luba, was anyone hurt in Rosa?
I wasn't here.
Ah, right. You were in Egypt.
Yeah.
It was loud. I started filming and I was swept like by a wave, as if I was blown by the wind. And of course I showed my parents the video afterwards. They thought I was very rude, but whatever, I was scared.
Nothing like a meteorite to start the day.
The Chelyabinsk meteorite is the largest space object to hit the Earth in more than 100 years. Before that, the most prominent phenomenon for researchers was the Tunguska event, when an object exploded near the Podkamenaya Tunguska River. On June the 30th, 1908, the sky over Siberia was pierced by a shining sphere. As it approached the Earth, it exploded with disastrous results.
As a matter of fact, its trajectory was about the same, and the blast wave was huge. In that instance, a lot of trees were flattened over thousands of hectares, while in this case, the only things damaged were windows. This means that the explosive force was different, or maybe the altitude.
But both Tunguska and Chelyabinsk are not the only objects to hit the Earth in the last 100 years.
There were a few more big objects that hit the planet. One was in the south of Russia in 1922 and was part of the Sarajevo meteorite. That powerful stone meteorite was found only 60 years later. Another was the Sikhote-Alin meteorite, which was also large, but it did not hit a populated area. It was iron and it broke into small fragments, meaning it was quite fragile.
One of the large fragments of the meteorite fell into Lake Chebarkul, 90 kilometers from Chelyabinsk. The first to call the police was a local fisherman, Valery Morozov. He said that something fell from the sky and straight into where he was fishing.
This is my area. This is where my fishing pond is. Usually every fisherman's got his own area for ice fishing. A fragment of meteorite and some other fragment fell down. A huge geyser of ice and snow erupted. Now there's something black lying down there.
The meteorite exploded high in the sky, and the fragments dispersed over dozens of kilometers. Moscow scientists are yet to find all of these fragments.
So where did you see it, and what height was it? Did it fly right over you or not?
It flew like that.
Oh, so you mean to the left
like
of
that.
you?
Yeah, like that.
I didn't see anything really.
Who saw it? The smoke.
On that side?
From just over there.
The direction of the highway, that is.
No, not the highway. It seemed like it was right above the school. And this is the reaction that the younger generation has to the incident.
Today we are trying to figure out the trajectory of the meteorite. Probably some of the locals have already collected some fragments. So now we are just scouting the central region, where the meteorite passed and maybe dropped something. This is exploration, just some simple reconnaissance. Okay, let's go.
Scientists have already concluded that about 1,000 tons of extraterrestrial material fell to Earth after the meteorite exploded. The rest turned into dust and dispersed in the atmosphere. Some of the remaining larger fragments are yet to be found.
Was it here?
Yeah, it's here, about 40 kilometers.
No space tracking ground station, no orbital satellite registered the meteorite as it approached the Earth. They could only register its trail, which remained visible in the atmosphere for 9 hours.
What's going on there?
No one was warned about what was coming. The unexpected attack from space threatened the lives of several million people.
Meteorites of such size are very hard to pinpoint. I would even say that for the time being it's impossible. No one has such equipment. Telescopes are used to observe larger objects. This is something we have to work at. It's the top priority area of technology development because there have been impacts in the past and they will happen in the future. The scale of these impacts will greatly depend on their size.
This was almost the same as a missile attack, except that it came from space. That's why, in order to reduce the chance of it happening again, we have to protect our country with maybe 5 telescopes. It would cost about 500 million rubles, roughly the same cost in damages as a result of Chelyabinsk.
Lake Chebarkul, where it presumably fell, has become a place of pilgrimage. It attracts scientists, the police, and tourists.
There has been one attempt at diving so far to find meteorite fragments, but that did not yield any results. The divers discovered that the lake is 10 meters deep and has 2 or 3 meters of mud at the bottom. I'm no expert, but I seriously doubt that finding a fragment the size of an orange is going to be possible.
However, scientists believe that the fragment that fell into the lake could have been the size of a large watermelon. Other fragments of the meteorite continued on their path and could have landed 100 kilometers from here.
What can I tell you, gentlemen? I had doubts when I dived the first time, but now I can positively tell you that there's nothing there.
The local authorities are determined to find the meteorite, no matter what it takes, and turn the village into a tourist attraction. The locals and a horse called Zorka are ready to greet their guests.
People have to walk to the meteorite. You can't drive there. You can only use a horse, the environmentally friendly vehicle. This only happens once in 100 years. Everyone wants to have a look. They are trying to find the meteorite.
And here it is. Finally, that's where it is. We've been looking for that. No. It's a mouse.
The scientific expedition is now near the village of Deputatskoye. Its residents have reported that stones rained down on the village and can be found in the snow-covered fields.
Here it is. Almost through to the ice crust. These are the small fragments, so they only went as deep as the first layer of crust. And here you can see the tail. It's clear to see. Well, and here's the stone itself. Beautiful. This was the first fragmentation, followed by the impact wave. So it mostly split into such small fragments, and they rained down everywhere. There really is a lot of this material lying around here. It's everywhere.
They're completely harmless. They're neither radioactive nor toxic. They're just stones from space. But what is important is that these stones have practically remained unchanged since their beginning. They were formed 4.5 billion years ago. And they've changed very, very little in that time. By studying them, we can get a better understanding of the processes that took place in the early days of our solar system.
Whole kilos of space stones have since ended up in the pockets of meteorite hunters, snatched up within hours of the impact, with the hope of making a quick buck, although some were kept as personal souvenirs.
Some local guys had large ones, but they were selling them for a price we couldn't afford. These ones we found by ourselves.
Even the police in Chelyabinsk are worried about the massive trade in stones. As far as they know, regular rocks are being passed off as chunks of meteorite.
The police are asking citizens to be cautious and wary of purchasing unidentified substances from unidentified individuals.
The police conduct special operations, and officers confiscate both stones and money from meteorite traders. According to the authorities, this measure is aimed at preventing fraud. The fragments from Chelyabinsk can now be found at a rock shop in Moscow. The shop provides a guarantee that the stones are genuine, citing the law that does not forbid trading in meteorites.
The average price in Russian shops is about 1,000 rubles per gram. If you took it to the US or to Europe, the prices would of course be 2 or 3 times higher. It is so special because so many people saw it, with the mass media providing a wealth of information. A whole advertising campaign was organized around this meteorite. It became world famous overnight.
This footage has now been seen by millions of people. Foreign TV show hosts made fun of Russian drivers who didn't seem to be that impressed by the meteorite. The motorists paid little attention to what was going on in the sky.
Americans ask why Russians have recorded their meteorite from all angles, while they don't even have one shot of the plane that hit the Pentagon. Hey, Irina.
Here are your keys.
They were at the swimming pool. My daughter's been swimming for 2 years now, since she was 4 months old. The dashboard camera is always on. I get into the car, switch it on, fasten my seatbelt, and I'm off.
Andrei Korolyov spends most of his life behind the wheel. He works as a long-distance driver. Andrei captured images of the flying object while driving around Chelyabinsk in his car with his small daughter.
It appeared from the left, but I couldn't see it then. The traffic light was green. I slowed down. Then there was this bright light. My hands were burned a bit. Not exactly scorched, but I could feel the heat. And then it passed by and I turned home to the right. I was in the right place at the right time. There's no other explanation. This is probably the best recording of the meteorite. It got 9 million views on YouTube in just 10 days. The driver in front of me froze, like a computer freezes. He just took his foot off the pedal. But other drivers, tough guys from the Urals, just looked around, saw the meteorite, and drove on.
Okay, first row, quickly step away from the windows. Everyone else, hide under your desks. So there was a flash of light. What are we supposed to do?
Step away from windows.
Step away from the windows, that's right. That was the first thing to do. And what did we have to do next?
Look away.
Look away. And when you heard the explosion?
Get down.
Get down where?
Under the desk.
In this cadet school, no one was wounded, even though the building's exterior was badly damaged. Shortly before the meteor shot through the sky, classes were ended early because of a flu outbreak, a lucky coincidence. Although the pupils still saw the flashes when they got home.
You can see here it's covered with plastic film. Here we will only change the glass because the frame is still sturdy.
Many children still have trouble sleeping after the event. Some live in dread of a more catastrophic strike.
Honestly, I still feel kind of sick inside. I thought, what if something happened to my parents? They were at work then, but how would I be able to live?
We were lucky. Other people have never seen such an event, but we were lucky to see it in our lifetime. This was such a beautiful phenomenon. Of course, a bit scary, like science fiction. But above everything else, you should be positive and simply move on with your life.
The Chelyabinsk meteorite gave Russian and international scientists a unique chance to study the interaction between space and Earth. This time, both the planet and the population withstood the impact.
Today we can say that this is a stone meteorite, or a so-called chondrite, an ordinary chondrite. This type of meteorite is rather fragile. It splits into fragments of all possible sizes. It was hit several times on its way to Earth. There's a lot of evidence for this, but that happened a long time ago. We're not aware of any cases of radiation hazard related to meteorites. As for microbes, this is not the kind of meteorite that contains organic matter. I would think it's full of earthly microbes now.
The people of Earth will have to face space threats many times in the future. A few days after the Chelyabinsk event, American astrophysicists reportedly spotted 6 small asteroids approaching the Earth.
It could be tomorrow or in 20 years. I don't know. In theory, humanity, if it wants to live a long and happy life, or just live, has to think about it. And the most advanced countries are already thinking about it and working on it.
Astronomers are discussing the high probability of disaster in 2036, when the doomsday asteroid Apophis will cross the Earth's orbit. If it hits our planet, the blast energy could equal that of the world's entire nuclear arsenal. If this happens, the Chelyabinsk meteorite that has made such a stir today will pale in comparison. Near the window. Any longer and she would have been wounded by glass fragments.
I grabbed her, and the moment I turned around, we were hit by this wave. I crouched down with her, and we were hit by shards of glass. Some of it hit me in the forehead. Then everyone ran over there, and there was another explosion. I tried to calm the children down. I covered myself with a towel so that they couldn't see the blood.
When the parents of the children learned about the scale of the disaster, they were grateful for Ainura's fast reactions.
Well, kids, good luck to you all, and I wish you...
In the Chelyabinsk region, 1,600 people were wounded as a result of the impact. Many were injured when they came to the windows to see the flash in the sky. The blast wave that came a few minutes after the explosion broke thousands of windows, showering people with glass.
Oh, anywhere. It just expanded a bit, and that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem, you're welcome. I guess I'm popular now.
This is good information. It means the fragmentation of the meteorite went further.
On that sunny morning, nursery school teacher Ainura Garipova was playing with children in the classroom, unaware that she was about to save 14 young lives.
I saw it in the sky, and all of the kids, of course, ran to the windows to see it. Then it became very hot, and the noise was deafening. I saw these lights and for some reason thought that the windows would be blown out. Maybe there were terrorists, how could I know? So I rushed them to safety from here into the kitchen over there.
But one child hesitated and stayed.
But several blasts rocking the region, and there's long trails of smoke in the air.
A blast 20 times the strength of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima took place in the sky above the cities and towns of the Urals. The blast wave smashed windows and destroyed roofs and walls of buildings. It was followed by a downpour of stone fragments from the meteorite onto the people below. Several people were wounded, but no one was killed as a result of this cosmic attack.
We're not done yet. Not yet. We'll check this area.
Метеорит, короче, упал. Ебать, аж глаза слепил. Хуй знает, че за хуй. Я в шоке, блядь. Это взрыв был, слышали, да? походу война ядерная началась. Я все снимаю. Сука, страшно. Что делать, сука? Вы это видите?
We start with some breaking news this hour.
Welcome. These stories and the pictures coming out of central and western Russia right now are simply incredible.
A sky full of fire and brimstone. About 10,000 tons.
Causing a meteor shower. Eyewitnesses reported.
First. Then we'll drop in here. I don't think we'll have time to go all the way to Travniki.
Scientists have come to the area where the meteorite fell in order to map its trajectory. To do this, they have to interview hundreds of eyewitnesses who can provide valuable information.
Over there.
Over there? And how high was it?
Yeah, high. High above the woods, there was a flash.
But it was more to the south, I think. More southwards.
Where the sun is now, that's about where the flash was. And the cloud was hanging, yeah, right above the houses. I filmed it after some time had passed, 15 minutes or so, I think. I filmed it from my backyard, and it just stayed there. It didn't